Hello and welcome to the August edition of the Carlisle Community Forum. My name is Jerry Lerman and I'll be your host for this program. We have an interesting program. We're going to be talking about identity theft and phone scams. But to start off, I'd like to introduce our panel. Sitting at the end is Jean Bagnashi from the Friends of the Carlisle Council on Aging. Sitting next to her is Angela Smith, the Outreach Coordinator and Program Manager of the COA. In the center is our fearless leader, David Klein, who's the Director of the COA. And sitting next to him is Robin Putnam, who is the Research and Special Programs Manager from the Office of Consumer Affairs and Business Regulation for the state. And to my immediate right is Amy Schramm, who is a Senior Community Relations Specialist for the Better Business Bureau of Boston. Like to start things off with Jean.
Oh, okay. As always, the Friends are most grateful for Carlisle community's ongoing support for the COA's programs that enhance the well-being of our seniors. And the Friends help fund the COA's wonderful programs that help make Carlisle a safe place for our seniors to stay active and in touch with their community, especially through services like food and fuel assistance for qualified seniors, podiatry and blood pressure clinics, fitness activities, and in addition to monthly breakfast and luncheon get-togethers. The Friends co-sponsor programs with the Gleason Library as well. And not to be missed, we have upcoming events starting in October. Dr. Jason Giamanti will return. He's going to be speaking about Islam. That will be October 4th at 1:30 in the Gleason Library. And it's Buddhism and Zen. Last year, Dr. Giamanti talked about Islam to sold-out crowd. Also in November, another repeat speaker, Richard Travers, will be speaking about Bach, Beethoven, and Brahms, again at the library, November 1st, 8th, and 15th at 1:30. And then something that is new, but again a repeat speaker, Dr. Gary Highlander, will be speaking about the history of the Supreme Court. That also is at Gleason, and it's Wednesdays, September 27th, October 18th, and October 25th, again at 1:30. Registration is required. You need to call Gleason at 978-369-4898. And we're also excited about our continuing intergenerational activities. And new this year is Grandparents' Day, co-sponsored with the Gleason Library on September 23rd, celebrating Intergenerational Month. It's a free drop-in event, 11 to 4 on September 23rd, with activities for all ages, board games, arts and crafts, story hours, writing centers, live music, and refreshments. It's sure to be a great time for kids and grandparents, so come and enjoy. Also, our fundraising kicks off in the fall, so stay tuned for information, but please be advised that we will accept donations anytime. Friends of the Carlisle Council on Aging, Box 38, Carlisle 01741. That's it.
Thank you, Jean. Angela, would you like to go next?
Sure. I just wanted to talk about the fact that we're participating in the Alzheimer's Association fundraising walk on September 17th in Andover, and the name of our team is Carlisle Fights Alzheimer's. And so we have put in our newsletter that's coming out for September, October, how to get there if you'd like to make a donation online. There's a purple can like this one that is at Fern's by their coffee bar. And you can also come by the COA office and pick up a form if you'd like to mail in a donation. So we're hoping to fight this terrible disease because we've seen so many of our own seniors and their families devastated by it, and the statistics about the growing number of people that are going to be facing it are just terrifying. So we're hoping if you're hearing this that you'll consider to either walk with us, make a donation, or share the information with somebody else that might be interested.
If people want to join the walk, what do they need to do?
They can go online and join online, and in the newsletter, and we have flyers around. They just go to act.alz.org. They click on the logo for the walk, and they type in Carlisle Fights Alzheimer's, and they can join our team, or they can start their own team.
Okay, well, then we can move into the heart of our program. I'd like to introduce again Robin Putnam from the State Office of Community Relations and Robin Schramm from the Boston Better Business Bureau. And the two of them are going to talk about identity theft and phone scam and what people can do to protect themselves. So I'll turn it over to you two.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I work for Consumer Affairs and Business Regulation. It's a state agency in downtown Boston. And one thing I always try to remind everybody is if you ever have an issue and you need to ask a state agency, you can please call our hotline. It's free. It's run Monday through Friday, and we have information specialists actually answering the phone. You get,
Real people.
You get a live person Monday through Friday from 9 to 4:30. It's 617-973-8787. It's a free resource for anybody in Massachusetts, and we love having people call us. We field between 300 and 400 calls every week. And if you ever want to have questions regarding someone's professional license, you want to report a scam, you can always go online and www.mass.gov/consumer. We have lots of free information for consumers, so try to get that information out, because I don't think a lot of people are aware of where to turn to if they have questions regarding anything really that affects consumers.
Mm-hmm. Similarly to the Mass Office of Consumer Affairs and Business Regulation, whom Robin represents, the Better Business Bureau, serving Eastern Mass, Maine, Vermont, and Rhode Island, who I represent, serves as a free precautionary resource tool for consumers. So we really want consumers to know that you can continue to contact us for what you've been contacting us for years, which is if you have a problem with a product or a service or a business, but that you can contact us now ahead of time. We want consumers to know, contact us before you make those purchasing decisions, before you sign those contracts. We have over 5 million businesses within our database, and you can visit our website at your leisure, bbb.org, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or you can contact our office. We recommend Monday through Friday between the hours of 9 to 3, and again, you're pretty much guaranteed to speak to, again, a person, a human, and be able to have that interaction and have your questions hopefully answered to the best of our ability, and if not, we will always point you in the appropriate direction of who might have the best answer for you. But that's what we really want people to know. Contact us ahead of time. You're less likely to have to file a complaint against a business on the other side of things if you're choosing a good ethical business to begin with and signing the right
Well,
contract.
and as we talked about earlier, you can look up businesses and they're rated with a letter grade from A to F. That
Exactly. Yes, so we have businesses, we have over 5 million businesses, and earlier we were discussing that about 400,000 of those are accredited businesses. So those are the businesses that have applied for that status. You see that BBB logo, that torch of trust on their storefront or on their branded vehicle, and that means that they have taken that next step, and they have proven to us that they have all their proper licenses and certifications that we have cross-referenced with Robin's office, the Office of Consumer Affairs. And we were just discussing that every business, of all 5 million businesses, have a letter grade as well. They're not just accredited or not accredited, but they have a letter grade A through F. And we were saying that, you have, of course, the potential to see a non-accredited business that has an A rating, but you will never see an accredited business that has an F rating. So just because they are accredited or just because they're not accredited doesn't mean that that should be your deciding factor in who to choose and who to work with or sign a contract with. But look at that letter grade and look at all of the facts that are on that page. And that's really what we do. We just put all the facts out there and we let the consumers make their educated decision, and then know that if there happens to be an issue, whether they're accredited or not, contact us, and what we do is help serve as the middleman between the two parties and help facilitate the dialogue. That's really what we want to do, just make sure that there's a conversation happening between consumers and businesses and bridge that gap between the two parties.
Okay?
Wonderful. So I think we're going to talk a little bit about the phone scams, because unfortunately it affects everybody. It's not one specific group.
That may be the second most popular topic of conversation in Carlisle after ticks.
Yeah, okay, I can understand. Unfortunately, I get the calls all the time, cell phone, work phone. I get them at my home phone. It is frustrating. We give about 30 or 40 presentations every month, and that's usually the first question people ask us is, how do we stop this? Usually your best defense is to try to not answer the phone. I know that everybody still likes to rely on their caller ID system, but there are contraptions that someone can purchase on the black market that can scramble a phone number. So I could call you, scramble my number, and it might look like the Carlisle Police Department is calling you, or the Council on Aging. And so you pick it up and you go, oh, the Council on Aging is calling me, I wonder what's going on. And you pick it up. So it's hard because people still say, oh, well, I know who's calling, but 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a scam. I think if you notice right off the bat that it is a scam, just hang up. Don't press 9 to be taken off of a list, because you will be taken off of that list but put on somebody else's list. A lot of times we're also getting, our scammers are turning to use robocalls, and that's frustrating because you pick up the phone and there's a 10 or 15 second delay. There's no one there. And if you notice that, simply hang up. Because if you keep saying, hello, who's there, what's going on, is there someone there? Your voice is telling the computer system, we have a live person. Great, let's put them on a list and keep calling. A lot of people think it's kind of fun to scam the scammer. I don't suggest you do that. If they are calling your home phone, they can potentially get your address. And you never know if you have a nut who's calling you and is not a good person. Just simply hang up. It will keep you safer.
So I know some people who will try to use up time to make the call
Sure.
more expensive for the organization. That's not a good strategy?
No, we spoke to a group a while back, and this one woman said that she thought it'd be fun, and she answered all these crazy questions and kept him on the phone for half an hour. Well, he got incredibly upset with her, so he called her all weekend, 24 hours a day. So by the time Monday rolled around, she was so incredibly paranoid that she had to change her phone number. So whenever we give lectures to people, we usually get terrible looks when I say, hey, you should be changing your password every 6 weeks. But when I suggest to people, who wants to change their home phone number? Most people have had that number for 20 years. And the thought of changing that number, it's not safe. Don't do it. Just simply hang up. It will keep you a little bit safer.
Yeah, it almost sounds silly to say, don't answer your phone, but to just let it ring and let it get to your answering machine, it serves a dual purpose. One, if you let it ring and just go to your answering machine, the scammers are very unlikely to leave you a message, and if it's someone that needs you, they will leave you a message, and you can decide if you're going to call them back and when. But also by answering, like Robin was saying, we're alerting the person on the other end that it's an active working number. They now know, okay, this number is not associated with an automated machine, it's not a business somewhere, it's a person, and if they answer today at 1 o'clock, maybe they'll answer tomorrow at 1 o'clock as well. And what happens is we tend to take things a little personal. We think that we're being targeted specifically, and for the most part we're not. On occasion we certainly can be. But there are scammers, and they have a list of, let's say, 750 names and numbers, and on Monday they're going to call all of those people and offer them a better interest rate on their credit card. And on Tuesday they're going to call the same people and say that they're from the IRS. And on Wednesday they're going to call the same list of people and say that they're from a charity organization, and maybe they'll repeat the name of a real charity, or they'll make up a fake charity name. And then on Thursday they'll try something else, and they'll just keep trying new things, and the more we answer, the more likely it is that they'll keep trying, because they figure, okay, well, if my tactic on Monday didn't work, maybe they'll answer again on Tuesday, because I know that they like to answer, and I'll try a different tactic, and maybe that will be the one that really gets them. Maybe that'll be the charity scam one, where this scammer from Dubai or Jamaica or Montreal or wherever the calls are coming from, maybe this is the day that it'll get them. And we can just let it ring, and just like Robin said, not pressing that number either. If it says press 9 to be taken off of the list, it's just all of these little things that we're doing to alert the person that we're real, and that if they keep trying, we might give in to that one moment.
Well, I know on some of the calls I get on my home phone, most of which are junk calls, a lot of them will say out of area, which I never answer,
Yep.
and others will say something.
Yeah, and that's just like Ron was saying, those spoofing devices. It's very easy. You can actually download an app, and they're free. There are some apps where you can download this program, and you can manipulate your own number to pop up on other people's screen as something different. And I was at a conference not long ago, and this gentleman, we were on a panel, and he stood up, and the time it took for 3 people before him, 5 minutes each, to speak, he had downloaded this app. He asked a woman in the audience. It took 3 minutes to do this. Asked a woman in the audience for her phone number and her husband's number and how it was plugged into her phone, and he typed them into his own phone, called her while we were all there, a room of 100 people were seeing this happen, and on her screen it looked like her husband. It said her husband's name popping up on her screen. And I mean, we can say that they can, it's expensive for them to purchase these products. It's very cheap, and this app was free. And I don't know what the name of the app was, but it's that easy. And that's why people do it. They know that we're not very likely to answer the phone if it says that it's, coming from another country or has, a long line of numbers. But if it says somewhere within the U.S., we're just a little bit more likely to answer. And then if it says somewhere within this area, we're even more likely to answer. And then if it says our own, we're oddly enough likely to answer because we're going to be curious and say, how did my own number pop up on my screen? And that's bizarre. And that's really for the people that haven't educated themselves in settings like this either. Because if you don't know that that is something that can happen with these spoofing devices or through these scammers, I might answer my phone and say, how did that happen? Why is my own number calling me? What's going on? Maybe it's a weird voicemail mix-up or something. And unfortunately, we're answering.
It's frustrating because we
It
are all
is.
getting the calls. There is free for landlines. It's called No Mo Robo, where you can register your home phone number for free, and it will cut down on your robocalls that are coming. I believe someone on this board actually uses it. I think it's $1 or $2 per month if you would like to register your cell phone for the robocalls. And I did do a little looking around. There are paid apps and free apps that you can download for your cell phones, Android as well as iPhones, and they will block those calls. I can't vouch for.
Are they 100% reliable? Will it not block? Are you
when
sure
I
that they
looked-
won't block some of my friends who might be calling me?
Well, I did read all of the reviews, and they did get, of the ones that I chose to look at, I only looked at the ones that had 5 stars. So there are some not great apps, but if you do your own due diligence and look and say, all right, this has had the best review, maybe I'll use this one, I'll try it, see what happens.
And that's why No More Robo might be a good choice, because at least it's only going to block the robocalls. It's only going to block the automated calls, and that could be from a legitimate business or a scammer, which is good because there's no other way to block the scam calls from coming in. The scammers that are just calling, individually, one at a time, as opposed to using the automated systems.
Well, I know for me personally, 99% of the calls I get on my home phone are either, they fall in either 2 categories. Either they're junk calls from people I've never heard of, or they're fundraisers from charities that I might have contributed to once in my lifetime.
Absolutely. What's really important to mention, and Rob and I mention this at every program, any phone call that comes in, no matter how believable they sound, if it happens to be an organization you've worked with in the past or a business you're affiliated with, no matter how realistic it sounds or who they say that they're representing, the best thing to do is take note of who it is on the other end, hang up the phone, and find the number that we know for a fact is associated with that particular business or charity or organization. Because no matter how much information they give us, we can never be, even as silly as this may sound, even just 1% sure that they are who they say they are. They could say my name, an account number, maybe my social, which would freak me out a little, but they might have that information somehow. But I'm always going to hang up. And we always say, if it's the bank, if it's the credit card company, go over to your wallet, take out the card, call the 1-800 customer service number in the back, contact them, and they'll say one of 2 things. Yes, that was us. Thank you so much for calling us back. Let's handle the situation. If it was, your bank or credit card company or utility company or cable company. Or they'll say, no, that wasn't us. We didn't call you. It must have been a scam. And now not only do we have peace of mind knowing that we didn't give any information away to the person that called us, we're alerting the company that we've just called that someone is out there pretending to be them, and then they can go, and that's sort of how this starts. And we'll put blog posts out and then alert the public to the best of our ability.
So if I were to get a phone call from some charity that I contribute to often, and they were to say, I'm from XYZ, would you like to make a donation over the phone? And they want a credit card to do that. That's something you should never, ever do?
I would not, because you can't, as Amy mentions, you can't be 100% sure that it really is that charity actually calling you. If you really would like to make a donation to that charitable organization, whatever it may be, find the legitimate phone number or the website for that charity and call them up directly and to say, hey, I'm thinking about making a donation. How can I do this so all of my donation goes to you physically? Because you just never know. I could call you saying I'm calling from whatever charity. Would you like to donate? We noticed that you donated last year. Would you like to donate again? I'll take your credit card right over the phone. I'm not a fraudster, but what if I decide to be one afternoon and give you a call? You just don't know. It's frustrating.
And it's that easy too.
It is that easy.
It's that easy because who wouldn't want to give, And that's what they do. They'll sell us real sob stories of things that we're seeing in the news. If there's a flood, a hurricane, a tornado, and there's, mass devastation, we will start to get those phone calls regularly from real charities. And so the scammers will piggyback off of that. And then they'll say, you know what, I might be their sixth call of the day, but maybe I'm the one that'll really sell it to them. And then we'll end up giving because we want to, and that's the trick here. We want to believe that things are good and that people have good intentions, or that just we don't want to believe that there are those scammers and identity thieves out there, but more often than not, it's them.
Okay, so on these phone calls, there are kind of two kinds of things that people are after. One is your credit card, and the other is other information that will let them get at your online information.
Yep. A lot of times they're also looking for you to verify and update your social security number. And people unfortunately do fall for that. They'll impersonate. There's a lot of impersonation scams. Someone will say, I'm John Smith, I'm calling from the Concord Carlisle Council on Aging. I just wanted to call and could you just update and verify your social security number for us? And unfortunately, people still fall for that. When in reality, this Council on Aging really doesn't need to have your social security number, but people still fall for it. Or they'll say, they'll look up the information, they'll go online and they'll figure out who the chief of police is for whatever police department, and they will call and they'll say, and they'll impersonate that chief of police, and they'll use a scrambler so it will look like it's coming from the Carlisle Police Department, unfortunately, and they'll say, I'm chief, I don't know his name, and say, I just want to let you know that we have your mother here in custody, and we need a credit card to get her out of jail, or we have your grandchild, whatever it may be, and it's scary because it comes up as the police department, and you know who the chief of police is, and it sounds like him. They're also unfortunately targeting immigrant groups, and they will call people who are English may not be their first language, they're very new here, and they will impersonate saying that they're the IRS, and they will say, if you don't give us a credit card to pay off this $10,000, that back taxes, we're going to have someone come and get you out of the country. So it's really scary, the impersonations, because it does sound so real. And if you're not from here, you don't know that the IRS really isn't going to do that. And it's scary.
So is it a true statement that I should never get a call that says, what is your social security number?
Yes and no. If it really is the IRS calling you, which I believe next year they are going to have third party making phone calls, if you owe back taxes, as well as if the IRS is ever going to call you, they still have to send you 2 pieces of mail prior to that. Even if they say it's the IRS, I would be hesitant to give them any information. Even if it's my own Visa calling me to say that there's an issue, I will find the right number for the local IRS or my Visa and call them back and say, explain who I am and say, I got a call or I got an email. Is there an issue? And then you can give your social security number to the IRS because you know that you are actually calling the legitimate phone number.
And the scammers get away with so much of what they get away with because they don't think we're going to take the time to do that. They don't think we're going to hang up the phone on what could potentially be the IRS and then go and find a local number and call them and verify, or call the local police department and say, are you soliciting for donations, or things like that. And for the most part, we don't. One, because we don't want to have to take the time to do it. If it's someone calling and saying there's an issue with our credit card, or someone might have gotten a hold of it, we want to handle it. We get nervous. We don't want to have to worry about someone actually being able to use it for the next 10 minutes that would take us to get our wallet and call them back. And it's just, it's unfortunate that we're not taking that time, because that's really all it is, and it never takes as long as we think it's going to take. And it's the best thing we can do. And as Robin mentioned, that IRS scam is the #1 scam of the last few years. And then that grandparent scam that she was touching upon, that's another one of those huge scams that's out there. And on one hand, they call and they impersonate your grandchild, and they sort of get away with it because they're crying and disguising their voice through the tears. So you never have to really say, well, it doesn't sound like you, because they're hysterical and crying, and they say, I'm in trouble, I just want to get home. Or what they're doing now is they're impersonating the authorities that have taken in the grandchild. That we don't have to disguise a voice, and they can say, they sound more authoritative, and they can say, leave your line open, in case we have to call you back. And it's unfortunate. And you were mentioning, the best thing to do is not give away any information to anyone that calls. And that really is any information, because one of the biggest scams of these past few months has been this can you hear me scam. And it seems like it might be kind of, not innocent, but it seems like it might not cause too much damage, but it's a phone call that we receive, and they just want to elicit a yes response. And they do so by asking us questions that would elicit a yes response quite easily. Is there anyone in your household that takes a daily vitamin? I think 99% of humans take a daily vitamin. You're more likely to get a yes response. Or, oh, I'm so sorry, I was fidgeting with my headset. Can you hear me now? Yes. And what they do is they record that information. And if they record you just saying the word yes to be able to then manipulate it and impersonate you in other ways, they have the potential to record anything that we're saying. And that's why staying on the line for any amount of time can end up causing even more damage than we think it might.
So what are the things that we can do to avoid somebody stealing our information?
Great question.
One thing that people should do is shred all of your personal information. If you're ready to get rid of old statements, taxes, anything that has your personal information, name, address, account number, all of that should be shredded. And so many people still put it in the trash, and you just don't realize that there are still, unfortunately, dumpster divers. Or they love to steal your trash on trash day.
Or even
We don't have trash day here in Carlisle. We bring all our stuff to the transfer station.
Oh,
Sure.
good.
Well, that's good, but you just never know who's working
jumping
at
over the fence.
Who's jumping over the fence? Who's working at the transfer station?
I always thought that our dumpsters were secure, but I guess not.
They could be.
They could
very
be.
well could be. But we even think just even
I'm
recycling.
sure we don't have guards guarding them at night.
Yes.
But even recycling, we throw away catalogs that we receive after we're done looking through them, or magazines.
And you should
that we
shred
get.
those too?
You don't have to shred the entire catalog, the entire magazine.
the address.
Take off the label, or if it's a catalog, take off the label, the mailing label, take out the insert from the inside, because usually that has your name and your account number on it, and
Yeah.
you might think, oh, what is someone gonna do with that? But if you have a catalog to a store and, they have pricey items, someone's gonna have that form, and they could just say, ship to somewhere else, and they could have another shipping address, and they could, charge a lot of money if you have an account and a card with that particular, that brand and company. So you can recycle the magazine and the catalog after you take off the label and remove the insert. But it's really just anything that has your name. Credit card offers that come in, insurance offers that come in, all of that should really, really be shredded.
As well as your prescription medication bottles. If you
And
cannot,
what's the risk there?
stealing your health insurance or jumping onto your health insurance. I know that my health insurance, every month or every couple of months, I get this is not a bill, and it just tells you everything that you've had.
Yep.
What if you're reading that one afternoon and you say, well, I never broke my arm. What is that? I didn't have that service. If someone has stolen your, the prescription medication, they can find your doctor's name. They have a barcode as well. You have to black out that or shred it all. If they have a reader for the barcode, they can get your health insurance information. So, and with HIPAA laws, it's very difficult to get someone off of your health insurance. So you need to either, if you can't get it off physically, just get a didacting marker, the security marker, and black out everything. It's another little easy thing that we can do, and then recycle it.
So what is a security marker? I've never heard of such a
They're
thing.
called redacting markers. Most office supply stores will sell them online, very inexpensive. A lot of our black markers that you can find in our stores they're not secure enough, and if you peel a label off, you can sometimes read through it, the black marker. So if you get a black redacting marker, or it's sometimes they're listed as security markers, you can't read through it.
If I just
If you use- yes.
obliterated, that would be secure enough?
It should be
Yeah.
secure enough. Just do a test. If you have a magazine, black it out and see if you can read through it with a strong bright light behind it. If it works, then that's great. But if it doesn't, just cut it out and shred it.
I think for the most part, we sometimes feel helpless and we feel like there isn't a lot that we can do, and it's like inevitable that someone's going to steal our identity at some point, and I can understand why people would feel that way. And there's a lot that is not within our control, but there's so much that is. We can't control and, who's going to go through our dumpster or who's going to go through our mailbox, but we can control what they find when they go through our trash. I can control what I put in my trash and what I'm shredding or what I'm recycling and what I'm not. And I just know that if by chance somebody happened to find my trash bag, they're not going to find anything that they can use. And I'm just going to feel that much safer, and I'm just going to take that little extra step to make sure that, I get rid of that information. Or mailboxes. If you still write checks to pay your bills and you have a mailbox in front of your house with a big red flag that goes up that says something important is in here for the mailman, somebody could go through, and it's of course illegal, but somebody could go through and take out that bill. And if it's a Visa bill you're paying, let's say, or if it's even a cable bill, it could be anything, and you have your check with your name, your address, your account number, and then you have the bill that you're paying with the account number and all of that information on there. And there's a lot of damage that can be done with that information, and it's not really something that we go about our daily business kind of thinking about. It comes from years of giving programs on identity theft and discussing it and talking about it to realize, whoa, this is actually a really big problem that we have. And most people just don't think about it, because why would we think that someone was going to go and open up our mailbox and take this information? And also because we don't necessarily know how they do what they do or why they do what they do, but we know that our identity is very easily taken, and our information is very easily manipulated if they can find it.
So one of the things that I do a lot, and I assume that lots of other people do, is buy stuff online, which requires putting a credit card in.
Sure.
Is that safe and secure?
It depends on where you're doing it. If you're using your smartphone and you're at a local coffee shop and they're giving you a password to use their Wi-Fi, just be aware that everybody in that coffee shop has the same Wi-Fi. So you don't know if there is a malicious person sitting at the coffee shop waiting for you to pull out your smartphone and go on Amazon. And if they jump on and hack into your account because you're using a open Wi-Fi, they can get your information. If you're going to do shopping, online shopping, do it at home. Do it in your own secure network, so that if I walk into your network, I can't use it unless I have your password. It's just going to make you that much safer.
And use a credit card versus a debit card as often as you can, especially with online shopping or anything having to do with anything on the internet or over the internet. Even if you're on a private Wi-Fi and it's your own, a credit card is much safer to input into these websites than a debit card.
Why is that?
A few reasons. The number one reason is that if someone were to get a hold of your debit card information, and to be honest, our information can be hacked into, and whether we use a debit card or a credit card, it doesn't matter. They're going to find either pieces of information if they can hack in or get a hold of it. But if they get a hold of the debit card and they use it, the money is immediately extracted from your checking account, and you're without that money until you fill out the paperwork and notice and contact the bank and get it back. And it could be a few months, 2 to 3 months. Typically, if it's your credit card, you receive a bill and you notice it, and then you can contact them, and you're never really responsible for the money in the sense that you're not without that money. You still might have to go through that paperwork, and it might take 2 to 3 months to sort of get it all squared away and cancel your card, send you a new one, but at least you're not without that money. Because if it's the debit card, you know, they could wipe out your entire account within seconds. And it's another one of those things where we can't control if someone's going to hack into our computer for the most part, even if we have strong firewalls and antivirus software. And we can't control if someone is going to put a skimming device at a gas station or at a grocery store where we swipe our cards. But we can control whether or not we're swiping the debit or the credit, and that's just one of those tips we really offer. Just swipe that credit more often than not. Your accounts are going to look a little funny for a month or two as you get used to noticing that your credit card bill is a little bit larger than normal, and your checking account sort of staying the same, your debit account that it's connected to. But we're just that much safer. Than not. And if you have a debit, and we have a lot of people that say, but I have a debit that I use as a credit. It's certainly a better step than just using it as a debit. But really all that does is put like a two-day hold on it, or it takes like 2 days to process. So if you do online banking and you can check at the end of every day, and I would recommend doing that. If you do online banking and you use a debit card, I would check at the end of every day. But if you use a credit card, you can, check as often as you can, but it doesn't have to be as thorough.
Well, and that brings up another interesting question, which is online banking. I know a lot of people that pay their bills online,
Yep.
and now there are apps where you can take a picture of a check and deposit it. How safe is that?
You have to just be very, very careful of where you're doing it. Whose Wi-Fi are you using? Do other people have access to the same Wi-Fi? It does make me nervous. I don't have a problem with doing online banking. I do it all the time. I buy things online all the time, but I only do it at home. I must sound paranoid, I know, but I don't want to have anybody thinking that they can get into my information. So if I'm going to do some shopping, I'll do it at home. I'll pull up my laptop and use my own secure Wi-Fi.
And I'll always use some sort of laptop as opposed to my phone. I very rarely will do anything on my phone like purchase products, because that means that in my phone now I'm typing in a credit card number or whatever it is that I'm using to make a purchase. And it's a little bit easier to lose your phone than it is to lose your computer, because your phones are on you at all times. And so if you don't have a secure password to get into your phone, or a thumbprint that you can use to get in, and then anybody can get in and see the sort of transactions that you've been making. And so it's not that online banking is dangerous necessarily, it's how we're using it. And it's also just important to know that anywhere has the potential to be hacked into at some point. These scammers are smart, and we use that term loosely because they're using their talents for evil and not good, but they are smart, they're intelligent, especially the computer hackers and the ones that can do things via the internet and via links through emails and things like that. And it's dangerous. The phone scams are the most annoying. The computer scams are the most dangerous, because more often than not we click on something and we have no way of knowing that we've done something that we shouldn't have. We've clicked on a link that we shouldn't have, that's associated with a virus that's attached to a hacker, because our computers or our phones continue to go about their daily business. There's no flashing lights that go off that say, you clicked on something you shouldn't have, call your bank right away. More often than not, they get a hold of our information, the scammers. Our computers function normally, our phones function normally, and they sit on our information for a little while, and maybe in a month they'll start to use it, and they'll make small purchases here and there that they know will bypass our credit card companies and our banks as unusual, and they might bypass us if we see a $1 or $2 fee or statement, because the scammers are more likely to scam 1,000 people out of $1 each than one person out of $1,000, because they know that one person's going to notice that $1,000 purchase, and those 1,000 people, law of averages says maybe some of them will notice, but it's $1. And how often have we noticed a $1 fee or a $2 service charge and said, I cannot remember what that is for, but you know what, if it's there next month, I'll worry about it then, or maybe it'll strike me tomorrow, and then we kind of forget about it. So it's those little things that we can do. And me and Robin and I always talk about monitoring our accounts. It's probably the most important thing that we can do.
Well, I mean, one of the things that happens to me that I find very annoying, if I buy something online from company XYZ, when it shows up on my credit card bill, it will say something other than XYZ, and I'll have to go through the trouble of calling the credit card company and tracking that down to find out that, that was a legitimate thing from XYZ, but it says ABC instead.
Yes, unfortunately, that does happen. I'm not sure why. Maybe the company is listed as doing business as a DBA. It varies. Every once in a while, I do see something like that. But if you're going to be monitoring your accounts, you're going to stay safer. You will see if something looks a little odd. What's that $2 charge at Brooks Pharmacy? I never go to Brooks Pharmacy. I'm always going to CVS. Why is there a Brooks Pharmacy? There's no Brooks Pharmacy here. So you'll see that and go, that doesn't make sense. Maybe I should check in on that. But you can also, you should be checking your credit report as well once a year, annualcreditreport.com. It's free. It's not a very exciting read, but if you go through it, make sure all of the information that's listed there is actually your information. You can go online, say January 1st, and check the first credit report. Then 4 months later, go back online and check the second one. And then at the end of the year, check the third one. If nothing, or I should say, if everything looks perfectly fine, that's great. If you've printed it, shred that information. Don't leave that hanging around. But then in the course of the year, it's not going to hurt your credit, but in the course of the year, you can see if anything looks out of the ordinary.
So if you find something that looks weird, what do you do?
You call, let's just say you saw something on Experian, like Discover card. What's that? I don't have a Discover card, or a store card. You should call Experian immediately and say, I don't have a Discover card. I'm just using it as an example. There's nothing wrong with Discover. But if you see an extra credit card, call them immediately. Say, I don't have this credit card. What is this? And there's going to be paperwork for you to fill out, but they're also going to immediately call the other 2 credit reporting agencies and run that as well to say, hey, we noticed this discrepancy. Let's run the credit report for the other 2. So
Is it the credit reporting company's job to fix those problems?
you have to fill out the paperwork. It's not going to just magically happen, not magically disappear. You will have to fill out paperwork and do your own due diligence. It is unfortunate. We met a woman who, for the first time in her life, decided to run a credit report because she was going to buy a house. Well, she was in her 30s, I think, and she didn't realize that someone had gone to a 4-year university on using her Social Security number, and that popped up on her credit report. So if you see something, you've got to call the credit reporting agency immediately.
It's so important. It really is. Even your name, if your name's spelled incorrectly or something that you think might just be like a typo, it probably isn't just a typo or something like that, but absolutely. And they're free. The credit report is free, and it's worth it. Don't do too many a year, but you can do one from each of the 3, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax, or annualcreditreport.com, which, as Robin always says, is the only government-sanctioned
Free place to go.
Yes.
Good to know. So one of the surprising things that you had on your list of things not to do is not to carry your Social Security card or your Medicare card with you.
Never, ever,
I mean,
ever,
a
ever.
lot of, if I go for a doctor's office visit, they
Sure.
will ask for that.
Well, if you know you're going to go to see your doctor, fine, bring it with you that day, absolutely. But I know that the Medicare numbers are going to be changed next year, so it won't have your Social Security number. But if you are not going to see your doctor today or tomorrow, you're better off to make a photocopy of it and black out all but the last 4. You can still be admitted to the hospital if you had an accident, but if you ever lose your wallet and your Social Security number is in that wallet, it can be so dangerous, because now they have your Social Security number, they have, let's just say, your Visa, your MasterCard, your debit card, your bank information,
Your driver's license.
your driver's license, and where you live. That all of that information is so potentially dangerous to a bad hacker. You just don't want that information getting into the wrong person's hands.
Well, I guess that's kind of my nightmare scenario, is losing my wallet. I mean, there's so many things that you have to kind of undo and protect if you lose a wallet.
A good thing to do for if you have a lot of cards, photocopy the front and back of all of them, and keep those pieces of paper in a secure place in your home, so that if you ever do lose your wallet, you can go there and say, all right, here's the 800 number for Visa, and here's your full 16-digit number on the front of the card, and the 3-digit code in the back. So you at least have the easy number right there, and you can call them and go right through the list. You're still going to be probably pretty panicked, but at least if you have that information right in front of you, you can go through and make phone calls much quicker, as opposed to trying to find the numbers in your house, or what's the 800 number for this, and how do I get a hold of my bank. It will take you down a notch, and you won't be as scared, but you can get that information and make the phone calls quickly.
I mean, I have a lot of cards in my wallet, and some of them are like my Carlisle library card. Do I need to worry about that?
Well, maybe if someone's going to take books out in your name, you might want to contact the library and say, can you just give me a new one? Because, well, I guess you just don't want somebody to do that. What if they have late
Right.
fines?
I think it's all about
We
priorities.
don't have late fines anymore.
Well,
I think it's about priorities too.
Yeah.
Just thinking, what is really important for me to have on me today, and what is really important for me to have on me tomorrow, and just thinking, do I have to carry around all of these cards? And it's really more about the people that have 6 or 7 credit cards. You know,
Mhm.
you don't necessarily need to carry those around every day. I don't think. But if we can sort of prioritize and think, what is really important here?
Mhm.
What do I have to be carrying with me? Do I have a doctor's appointment? Do I have this? And then acting as quick as possible, because so
Mhm.
often, we see something's a little off with our account, or maybe we lost a card, or we're not sure if we gave information away over the phone, and we don't act quick enough. Call
So
your bank immediately.
What's your definition of quick enough?
Immediately, the moment you notice it. Contact your credit card company and say, I think I just gave my credit card information away to someone over the phone, and I don't think it was actually someone that it should have been. They called me, and I panicked, or it was the IRS or whatever it is, or they said that it was. Act as quick as possible, as quick as you can, and then just say, I'm not sure. Best/worst case scenario, they're going to say, you know what, let's cancel that card and we'll send you out a new one. You wait 5 to 10 business days, it comes in that blank envelope, and then you can get the ball rolling again. But it's one of those things, it's a priority, what is important and what isn't in that everyday sort of mode.
our thieves unfortunately act immediately. So it happened to me. My debit card fell out of my wallet when I was getting gas. And I got in my car and literally was only 2 seconds down the road, but and I realized, oh my gosh, I don't have my card. Where's my card? And I knew that if I tried to turn around, it was during traffic time, it was going to take me 30 minutes to get back. And I knew that there was a branch. So I drove relatively quickly to the bank, and it was only 5 minutes away. And I said, in complete panic mode, and gave her all my credentials, showed her my license to prove it really was me. That was probably only 5-10 minutes. Within 10 minutes, someone was trying to already use my debit card for $85 worth of gas. And she was very calm. She just sat there looking at her computer. She's like, look at that. Someone's already using your card. I'm like, But she said, don't worry. It's not going to go through, so you're set. But it happens just like that.
Yeah.
They say, oh, look at that. Let's use their credit card. Because how long will it take them to react? Maybe an hour. Maybe I'll use their credit card quickly.
What's amazing too is they don't even have to have your card to be causing damage. We can look at our wallet, and we used to be able to say, oh no, I lost my card, like Robin was saying. This was more often than not, this was common. We would look and say, oh no, I forgot my card, or I lost it, or I might have dropped it, someone might have it. We can have all of our ducks in a row, and all of our cards can be in our wallet, and everything can be lined up, and someone could still have that information because of how easy technology is nowadays. And we could be in line at the grocery store, handing our card to the cashier, ready to pay our bill for our groceries, and someone behind us within a half a second snaps a picture with their smartphone. That's how quick it can happen. And we put the card back in our wallet, we have it in our wallet, and someone could have it just from standing behind us, and we think they're texting, or we're not even notice that they're there. It can happen that quickly, and we can have the card, and someone could still be doing some damage with it.
How paranoid do I really need to be?
A little paranoid.
Just a little.
A little.
Paranoid
healthy.
enough. Yeah. It's sobering.
Yes.
Yes,
Oh, that's a
unfortunately.
great way to put it,
Yes.
So thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
I wanted to jump in it a few times, but you were really on a roll. So
Sorry.
I think that the idea of taking out cards and putting back cards, it's something that women are used to doing more than men. Not to be sexist at all.
Sure.
I just think that that's true because the switching of pocketbooks and switching of purses. And men, we tend to stick things in there that we're just going to need all the time for when we need it. I've got my AAA card, my
Yes.
medical card, my social
My,
security.
my wallet is an archaeological dig.
Yeah. But maybe we just have to take this as a learning moment,
Sure.
or teaching moment. I'm going to jump in. We have something called restaurant reviews that some people know about. Joanne Willens is our trip coordinator, and Joanne takes people to local restaurants usually once a month. And it's in our newsletter, but just to get the word out, in September she'll be going to the Old Mill Restaurant in Westminster, and usually we have the COA van leaving the Congregational Church at 10:30, and then before that at Village Court at 10:15 a.m. But if you are interested in going on these trips for the restaurant reviews, please call Joanne Willens directly, and Joanne's number is 978-371-8023. If you do end up calling the office and let us know, that's fine, but this will be more streamlined if you call Joanne directly. There's a second restaurant review in October at Dino's Pizzeria, which is in West Concord, and that's going to be on October 3rd. So the first one is September 11th, and the second one is October 3rd, and please call Joanne at 978-371-8023. We've got a trip to the Museum of Fine Arts on Tuesday, September 19th, and there's going to be a COA van leaving Village Court at 9 a.m. and Congregational Church at 9:15. It's a first-come, first-served event. Only the first 12 seats are available. Other people can go. We just only have room on the van for 12. So we need 10 seniors who are non-members of the MFA in order to get a senior discount entrance fee of $18 upon registration. Is that true? I guess it
That's
is
true.
if we have it in here.
It's true.
Lunch on your own that day. The van fee is $10 to go into Boston. And there's a preference for Carlisle residents. Out-of-towners can be placed on a waiting list, so they can still call in. But we won't be taking out-of-towners as far as registration on the van until after September 13th. We have another trip going to IKEA. It's a shopping trip on Tuesday, October 17th. And that is also registration through Joanne Willens. So we've got time for that. But again, October 17th, as we're getting near to the holidays,
So
which we don't even want to think about, right?
Are we chartering a semi-trailer to come back?
Yeah, right. Now, we have been trying in general to not hire buses. They're just so much more expensive. On the other hand, there are certain trips, like I think the one that we're doing going into Boston with Stephen Collins, that we'll talk about momentarily, where it does make more sense to hire or charter a bus. And the buses obviously will carry more people.
And more stuff.
And more stuff, exactly. Speaking of Stephen Collins, the Stephen Collins trip is a specially guided tour of Boston on Tuesday, October 24th. It's leaving Carlisle around 9:15. It's a 90-minute fully narrated tour, and some people who watch this program may recognize Stephen's name because he's been a guest. He's a professional actor and singer and performer, and he has been with us, I don't know, 3 or 4 times, it seems.
At least.
At least, yeah. He's one of those people like Richard Clark that is very popular with councils on aging because he's talented and he can do one-man shows on all number of topics. And one of the things he's been talking about with us for quite a while is that he does these tours in Boston and he goes through the historical sites. And then there's lunch at the No Name Restaurant. And the van is coming back at 3 to 4 p.m. So it's a full day from basically 9 to about 4 in the afternoon, counting the trip. Did you want to jump in on some of our
Sure.
lunches?
We do have lunches, and we have Chelmsford Crossing, which is going to be September 6th. And after that, Mark Hopkins, who's been a presenter for us in the past, is going to do a travel log on Ecuador, including the Galapagos Islands. And our coffee, which is going to be hosted by Donna McMullen, our board chair, and Abba Singal, who's recording today for us, is going to be on September 7th. We'll continue with Senior Moments on Ferns on September 11th and 25th. The men's breakfast, which is cooked by my husband, is going to be on September 14th. Our COA lunch is our annual Town Hall Appreciation Lunch for all the employees, and all of our seniors are welcome to come. And Santo Pilara and Ray Taylor are going to provide music as background. And if you are a senior and you want to come, we'd love you to bring a dessert. So we give the employees in town something special for dessert. We start back to Neshobatek for our once-a-month lunches at the high schools on September 27th. And we also go there for breakfast in October. Since our time's running out, I'm going to quickly hit a few other topics. And one is, we have a special program as part of our community conversations that is on September 12th, and we're going to take our van and we're going to go to the Life Care Center of Neshoba Valley, and we're going to get to see all their animals, including their llamas, and pet them and find out about them, and also find how animals actually are good for people in terms of their health and healing. And so that should be a very interesting topic and trip. So if you'd like to go, please call the COA at 978-371-2895 and join us. Our book group will be on September 11th with Lab Girl. And if you knit or crochet, we do have 2 knitting groups. One I'm a part of that we knit for the homeless in Boston, and another is called Drop-In Knitting, which is on Fridays. And all these dates are in our newsletter or online at our website. We're going back and starting our social hour in the fall, which is at Benfield Farms, and that's meant to introduce people to other people in Carlisle. So come meet somebody. If you're alone and you just like to have some new friends, that's what that whole hour is about.
We also have a couple of community events that are really important to mention, both in October, but we're going to talk about them now so people can put them on their calendars. We have a senior flu clinic that's sponsored by the Carlisle Board of Health, and that's going to be on Friday, October 27th. So mark that on your calendars, Friday, October 27th, between 10 a.m. and 11:30. So it's only 90 minutes, but if you are a senior age 65 plus, the flu vaccine will be covered by your Medicare. So bring your Medicare card. Nurses will be provided by Emerson Home Care. No appointment is needed, but please bring your Medicare card that day and be here between 10 and 11:30 here, right here in the Clark Room in Town Hall. Also, another important announcement for October, that same week, on Monday, October 23rd, we have a Medicare open enrollment presentation. And that's always an important thing. The open enrollment period is between October 15th and December 7th. But this presentation on October 23rd will discuss changes that the companies, Medicare companies, want you to know, healthcare companies want you to know that are occurring, because you have the opportunity to either stick with your plan or perhaps make a change if you decide it would be better.
Or find out that your plan isn't carried anymore.
That could happen too. Very good point.
Before we move off on the flu clinic, if you are homebound and you're hearing us through TV, please just call the COA and we will have somebody come to your house and give you a shot. So we'll put you on the list, and when the nurses are through here, they'll go visit home.
I think Jean mentioned, but I'll just for sake of public relations and marketing, mention that we have, in conjunction with the Police and Public Library, and both our Friends groups and the Friends group of the Public Library, a group of lectures by Gary Highlander on the Supreme Court, history of the Supreme Court, and the first one is starting in September 27th. And it's about the heroic first courts. And anybody who's heard Gary Highlander knows what a dynamic speaker he is. Like Jason Giamatti, a wonderful speaker. He's like oral liquid cocaine. Listening to him, he's so good. So anybody who hasn't heard him, it's really a pleasure. And the library always does a great job hosting this. That'll be in the Hollis Room, right?
Well, I think that's all we have time for. I'd like to thank our panel and apologize for taking up so much time with our wonderful guests, Robin Putnam and Amy Schramm. Thank you very much for being here. It was very informative. And thank you all for watching out there. Be sure to tune in September for the next Carlisle Community Forum, which will feature Mara Beer from Growing a Strong Family, who'll be talking about caring for the caregiver. So thank you all very much for watching, and we'll see you next month.